Hey everyone, welcome again to my channel. Today I'm taking you with me to the young adult after school book party that was hosted at my local bookstore. But first, if you're new to my channel, hi, welcome to Quillscene. My name is Megan. If you like things that have to do with reading, with writing, with books, with my adventures as an author, with geeky things, with witchy things, with all that kind of stuff, you're in the right place. Make sure to click on the magical subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell, because on that way you'll always get a notification if I upload something new. But yeah, the young adult after school book party, a long title for a funny, very fun evening. The people that followed this channel will probably already have gotten this explanation before, but here in Belgium we have this huge chain of bookstores called the Standaard Boekhandel, or the Standard Bookshop, translated to English. The thing is that every city by far has one of those bookshops, and during autumn break they have their party of the book days, which is basically that they get the entire autumn break, that every store kind of gets the time or the chance to do an open day or open days of their store, to put their books, but also the bookstores, all separate but also all together, as the chain in the picture. Most people do that with book signings by both local as more well-known authors. But sometimes there are also some events hosted, and our local Standaard Bookshop in Standaard Boekhandel in Tienen has been hosting the young adult after school book party for I think 3 or 4 years now, if I'm not mistaken, 3. I think 3. And the previous editions I also went as an author, and this time they called me up. Well, they messaged me quite late, actually. I think maybe 2 weeks before the event. They were like, oh my god, we forgot Megan/Morgan, which is my pen name, Morgan Blade. Could you please come to our after school book party as an author? And that's how I ended up on Friday the 25th of October, which was basically the start of autumn break here in Belgium, at the Standaard Boekhandel in Tienen. Now, the after-school book party is always a nocturne opening. So normally the store closes at 6. But for the party, the store is actually, the party itself starts at 5 p.m. and is until 9 p.m. Because they were hosting the after-school book party, the actual store closed at 4 p.m. so that they had like an hour to set up everything for the actual book party, and then at 5 p.m. the doors opened again until 9 p.m. And as I said, the after-school book party is an event that the Standaard Boekhandel in Tienen hosts in the frame of the party of the book days, which are the open days of the book chain Standaard Boekhandel. With their after-school book party, the after-school YA book party, YA young adult after-school book party, or something like that. It's actually, I always mess up the name, I don't know why. But the spotlight is put on the genre of young adult. And as you will see in the footage, they did a lot of, put a few extra tables in the store that they filled up with young adult books, but in different genres. You had like the horror genre, you had the fantasy genre, you had the romantasy genre, and so on and so forth. There was also blind date with the book. There were games, there were candy and drinks offered for the people that came by. And the thing that I mostly noticed, as you also will see in the footage, is that the most of the books that were present on the tables were, of course, English YA books that were most popular thanks to TikTok and Instagram, or Bookstagram. So I was the only Dutch author. Well, author that wrote in Dutch that was not only present in the store but also like had the spotlight that night. So yeah, it was quite interesting to see how. Well, I was quite curious to see how it went when, you know, the people would come by. So the thing with the after-school book party is always one time it's a hit and the other time it's a miss. Don't know why, because the store is in the middle of like town center. It's also where the schools are located and everything. Of course, you know, a lot of the kids, you know, have to stay until the store opens again for the school, for the book party, while school is mostly out around 4 and the party started at 5, so maybe that's why. But actually, sadly, we didn't get a lot of visitors. I mean, around between 5 and 6 p.m., so the first hour of the actual book party, there were customers, but those were customers that were like the common customers of the store, the ones that came for their lotto ticket, the ones that came for their newspaper and stuff like that. Because those were still the common opening hours. And then between after 6, we got some people visiting that actually came purely for the book party. A lot of the blind date books found a new home. But sadly, between 7 and 9 p.m., we had to entertain ourselves because sadly no one came. I think most of the people were already thinking about their vacation or something like that. But yeah, luckily the few people that did visit did, as I said, went to look at the display with the blind date with the book. If I'm not mistaken, she had the girl who had packed up the blind date books. She had made 20 packets, and I think 15 or 16 were sold, so that was a nice number. I also managed to sell 2 books, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 books, which wasn't bad, but still you always hope a bit more. But then again, I was surrounded by English books. So I remember last year, I wasn't the only author that was present. Also, Jana Bollens and Matthias Maho were then with me. And yeah, back then we had quite some people visiting for the book party, but they mostly went for the English books. So yeah, that's the downside of writing in Dutch. You always have to, you know, fight against the English market, because sadly a lot of Dutch-speaking people whose native tongue is Dutch prefer to read English because they kind of started disliking reading in Dutch, because the downside, now we're getting a bit nitty-gritty when it comes to the book side of things. The downside of social media like BookTok, like Bookstagram, is that there are a lot of hypes. So whenever a new hype occurs, be it in fantasy, be it in thriller, be it in any genre you can think of, publishers in different countries jump on that book to get the translation rights. So when a Dutch publisher gets the translation rights of an American or English published book that is very popular on Bookstagram or on BookTok, they want to get that book translated as quickly as possible, because if the translation gets done from English to Dutch in, let's say, a month, it means that within 6 weeks the book will be published and ready to go to store. Sort of. Mostly it's a little bit longer, but like it's in a really short time span. So that means they can still ride the wave of the hype of that book, which is the key, of course, because as a publisher you buy actually the translation rights. So you have to come with quite a lot of money, especially if it's a big hype book, like for example Iron Flame or you know, a Harry Potter book, like that sort of type of hype. Thing is, when you want to do a translation, a good translation takes time. Next to that, in Dutch you have a lot of accents. Not only you have the Netherlands Dutch versus Belgium Dutch, but you also have like different dialects in both of those two sides of Dutch. So when you give a translator a very short time to translate, they make mistakes. And sadly those mistakes stay in the book that it gets published, making it a not clear or high quality translation, causing that when someone who is a Dutch native speaker reads that translation, they get something like, what the hell is this? This isn't Dutch, this isn't my language. Then they grab to the English translation, the original language the story is written in, and then they're like, okay, now I can follow the story. And that's how most people start preferring English over Dutch, sadly. And when you, as a Dutch author who writes Dutch stories, original Dutch stories, then go to conventions or events and people come to you, oh my god, your books look pretty, what are they about? And you start doing your pitch, and then they ask, do you also have English translations, because I only read English. Yeah, it's always a bit painful to hear, because at this point I don't have English translations. I hope to do them soon-ish, being like a year or so from now. Hopefully I have a translation of one of my books in English. But again, I want to take my time for it, because I did study Dutch English, and I want to have English translations of my books, but I want to have qualitative translations of my books. So yeah, it's not easy to always fight against the English market, but we try our best. We can't do more than that. But with that little rant about Dutch versus English. Wasn't planned, but here we are. This video has come to an end. If you liked it, please leave a comment down below or a little thumbs up. Those things help my channel grow, but it also motivates me to make more videos like this. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I see you guys soon for another bookish, magical, probably on the go video. Bye!